It's, those bright lights that dim too soon,
Yeah.
really makes you stop and think.
Yeah.
Paler Rousseau Grigg, just 25 years old, a bright light. She was a TikTok star, and I think for so many of her followers, she really felt like a friend, sharing her life, her faith.
Yeah.
She was even, celebrating her birthday just recently.
Mm.
You look back at her September 9th video, and you could just feel the joy, radiating.
Yeah.
And then this past weekend, the news came from her husband, Cameron,
Yeah.
and it really hit everyone hard.
Yeah. It's those moments that kind of, make everything else just seem small. The
Right.
suddenness of it all, the loss, especially someone so young. It really reminds you, life, it's precious.
It really is. And, reading Cameron's words, you could just feel the weight of, I think, what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
He talks about her passing being sudden and unexpected and how she'd been, facing these health battles.
Yeah.
He even said that she faced more pain and suffering than most people do in a lifetime.
It's heartbreaking.
It really is.
And yet, when you read his words, you see this strength.
Right.
He describes her as a light, someone who brought so much joy to everyone around her.
Yeah.
Even while she's going through all this. And that strength to be able to find joy when things are dark, that's incredible. That's a powerful legacy to leave behind.
It really is. And it makes you wonder, how do you begin to process that? Not even just personally, but when you think about this community that existed largely online.
Yeah. It's something we're seeing more and more these days, this shared grief, It's like this digital age we live in. Think about it. The outpouring of love for Taylor online, all the comments, the tributes. It's like a virtual wake. It extends so far beyond any physical space.
That's such a good point. You're right. It's like this new type of mourning where you have thousands, millions even of people coming together, sharing your grief, their memories of someone. What do you think that says about how we process grief now, especially in the age of social media?
Oh, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
Grief, it's become so public, so immediate. In a way, I think it speaks to that human need to connect, to find comfort, even solace, in a shared experience, even if those connections are, virtual.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And for those who might not be familiar with Taylor and her story, she was, so open about her faith and how it helped her through really tough times. You can see it in her videos, this unwavering belief.
Oh, yeah.
And it seemed to really give her so much strength.
Absolutely. And that's something you see time and again, isn't it, Faith? It can be such a powerful way to cope, especially when you're facing a loss or just uncertainty in general.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that was a huge part of how Taylor dealt with, everything. And it resonated with so many people.
It makes you think facing a terminal illness, even in your 80s or 90s,
Yeah.
that's one thing. But at 25, it makes you think about the kind of inner strength, the faith that she had to have to navigate that.
It's really profound. And it makes you think about something bigger than all of us, The search for meaning, for hope, especially when we're facing our own mortality. You see it in Taylor's story, but it's universal, don't you think?
Absolutely. And it wasn't just her faith that resonated with people. It was her selflessness. Even facing everything she was going through, Cameron shared that her wish was to be an organ donor.
Wow.
Even in death, she was thinking of others.
That's the amazing thing about organ donation, isn't it? It's just this incredible act of generosity,
Yeah.
giving others hope,
Yeah.
even in the face of unimaginable loss.
I can only imagine the comfort it must bring families, knowing their loved one's legacy can continue in such a meaningful way.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about organ donation and maybe touch on some common misconceptions?
It really is. It's something that I think a lot of people maybe don't think about. And there are definitely misconceptions out there. Like
Yeah.
some people think organ donation is, rare, but it's not. Thousands of lives are saved every year because of it.
Mhm.
And it's not always like you see in the movies, those big organ transplants. We're talking corneas, tissues, even bone marrow. All those things can make a huge difference in someone's life.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a legacy, a whole other way to give back, even after you're gone.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to have those conversations with your family, Let them know what you want.
Yeah.
Because in those really, really hard moments, when someone's grieving, knowing that their loved one's legacy is continuing, that they're helping others, it can bring a lot of comfort.
Absolutely. And speaking of comfort, It's hard to ignore the financial side of things
Yeah.
in situations like this.
Yes.
Cameron was very open in his post about starting a GoFundMe campaign, talking about how they weren't prepared for the costs.
Of course. Of course.
And I mean, who really is?
It's a sad truth, you know? These unexpected medical expenses, they're just overwhelming for anyone.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about a young couple like Cameron and Taylor,
Yeah.
and then you add on funeral costs, maybe even loss of income,
Right.
it's so much.
It makes you wonder, how in the world, in a country like ours, can something as important as healthcare lead to these kinds of struggles?
It's a big question.
Yeah.
No easy answers. It's systemic, right?
Right?
Thankfully, there are resources like crowdfunding that can help. And in Taylor's case, we're seeing just how much support there is.
Absolutely. The outpouring has been incredible. There's the GoFundMe, of course.
Yeah.
But there's also a benefit being organized in her honor.
That's wonderful.
It's really heartwarming to see people, coming together to support Cameron and their families during this time, trying to ease that burden a little bit.
People want to help. It's human nature to offer comfort when there's tragedy. We see it over and over, this need to come together to offer support, whether it's money or just emotional support, just being there.
It's just listening.
Yeah.
Exactly. It really does remind you, even when things are dark, there's still so much good out there, so much love and compassion.
There is.
And, as we're talking about all this heaviness, it's important to remember Taylor, even facing everything she did, she still found a way to find joy every single day.
That's right.
And you see that in her videos.
Absolutely. And Cameron even said it, that Taylor, she just lived life to the fullest.
Yeah,
she
right.
really squeezed every ounce of joy out of every moment. It really makes you think,
It does.
about how we're all living our own lives. We should embrace every moment, connect with the people that matter, and never, ever take a single day for granted.
One line from Cameron's post really stuck with me, and it was, Taylor doesn't owe anyone anything.
Wow.
It was just so powerful and kind of defiant in a way. What do you make of that?
Yeah, it's powerful. It really makes you think about all the pressure we put on ourselves.
Right.
To be on all the time, especially online. Like, we have to achieve all these things, present this perfect image. And here's Taylor dealing with so much, and she lived her truth, embraced it all.
Yeah. And it makes you think, how are we living our own lives? Knowing, how fragile things can be. What can we learn from her story? About resilience, about faith, about really, truly living every day.
Big questions, right? It makes you think maybe the biggest takeaway from all of this isn't how she died, but how she lived.
Yeah.
The joy she found, the connections, the love. She left a legacy. We can all aspire to that, no matter what we're going through.
There's that saying, I don't know if you've heard it, life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain.
I love that.
And Taylor, seems like she was dancing.
She was. And, as we wrap up here, I really hope our listeners walk away from this not feeling sad, but maybe feeling a little more purpose, a little more driven to embrace the good times, the people in their lives, to really live a life that, like Cameron said, doesn't owe anyone anything.
Because at the end of the day, that's what matters,
Yeah.
right? Being true to yourself, loving deeply, and, just leaving things a little brighter than you found them. Taylor Rousseau Grigg, gone too soon, but never forgotten.
Never.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.